Jo, det var så när vi körde i Göteborg körde vi på svenska och vi har en del tittare utomlands så att vi tänkte vi kör den här på engelska. Jag hoppas det är okej. Så nu övergår jag till engelska då. All right, so my name is Per Wahlberg. I'm the CEO of Ovcon. So what we offer is a revolutionary mobile broadband satellite communication service that combines mobility with broadband. So it's really the first satellite service that combines those two. It enables very small satellite terminals on ground capable of transmitting very high data rates. And this service we provide in areas where the ground infrastructure doesn't really work. It could be that it doesn't fulfill the requirements, or that it's broken, or that it's missing altogether. So I thought what I will go through today then is to explain a little bit more what we do, our market, and also the development, the second and third quarter, and then the next step we are taking now. So we provide an end-to-end satellite service. And what is that then? Well, its part is terminals on ground, the thing that the customer interact with. This is laptop-sized big terminals that we have developed. They transmit back signals to the satellite, so it's satellite capacity as well. And then the signal goes down to a gateway which receives the signal. And then either that gateway is placed with the customer headquarter. If not, it's a secure fiber going to the end facility. So it's a complete end-to-end satellite service. Currently we are using existing satellites already up there, and these satellites have been designed for other purposes really, so we haven't been able to do anything with those, but still we managed to create a service that is better than the competition, but far away from as good as once we get up our own satellite, which has been the aim of this company from the beginning. So I mentioned terminals as well. We have developed terminals on ground that are similar sized as a closest matched offering. It's a service called Inmarsat BGAN. It's an Explorer terminal. It's like a laptop, but where we have proven data rates up to 80 times higher to a lower cost as well. So we provide this service today. We have a large part of this company has been development, really. So when we started with spectrum frequency rights. So we have today 6 orbital positions with frequency licenses. We have a very strong patent portfolio as well. We cannot use all of that in the current business as we're using other satellites, but once we get up our own satellites, we can really utilize the assets that we have. So in 2014, we started this service using these old TV satellites. Since then, we have grown, as we will show later. We are located in Stockholm, where the main development is, and research. We are also located in Tampa, Florida, and outside Washington in Bethesda. So customers, I can go to these slides. Who has a need of mobility broadband? Well, it's government, media, non-governmental organizations. And these 3 segments we have a large experience of since before, very long business relationships with customer in these fields. But there are also others outside these sectors that have a need of mobility broadband. Aeronautics, I mean, when you fly, but also on water, because a satellite, it just sees the Earth. It doesn't matter if it covers water or land, it's the same. Land mobile type of applications as well. We focus very much today on these segments, and within those 2, it's mainly government defense. I didn't tell you that, but before we started this company, I founded a company called Swedish Satellite System. There was a leading provider of mobile satellite broadband terminals. That company was until recently a part of Rockwell Collins. So many of the customer we have in this company is again customer we have worked with for a very long time. Yes, right. So you talk about a connected world, and it is in a sense, but the Earth is large, and there are large parts that are still not connected. As we said earlier, we have water, but there are also large land masses where you don't really have connectivity. So, of course, a satellite that is placed far away from the Earth, our satellites are geostationary satellites, so they see a third of the Earth disk, really. And with that, you can cover a big part of it. So even if you have coverage, if you are in these populated areas, as you see, this is a heat map, even if you are in the more populated areas, things can happen, as we saw in US recently, where there was tornadoes. So the whole ground infrastructure disappears suddenly. It was a silent zone, as they said in the newspapers. So even satellite services can play a role even in the areas where you have other means of communication. Also, you should understand that our customers have a need to transmit large information. If you're a private citizen, so to say, you maybe send some signs and you receive more information, but our customers want to transmit large part of information. So that's a little bit asymmetric on the other side. Right, so type of applications then within these areas. If we start with the government, it's a lot of sensor retrieval to understand what's going on within a certain geographical area. So you have land sensors, you have maybe aerial sensors on water, and you retrieve that information to understand what's going on. You call it net-centric enabling capability. If you're a broadcaster, a TV company, it's more of contribution of news. So instead of having if you've seen TV4 like in this country or a Swedish television, you have a truck with a big dish on the roof. That's what we did in Swedish, by the way. But of course, if you now have a laptop-sized terminal that can transmit high-resolution TV, then the reporter themselves can bring it with them and transmit live from anywhere. And in the end, I guess that's how they compete, the broadcasters. And then, of course, there are other applications areas as well. But as I said, we focus very much on those two. So the team behind then, who are we? The management team. So we have done this before. We have a proven track record of developing and introducing to the world market really disruptive SATCOM systems. We've also, experienced and proven successful track record of building up companies from scratch and be the leading provider on the world market. We also have knowledge of the whole chain from the terminal to the satellite. And that may sound trivial, but many satellite operators today, they have knowledge of the satellite itself, but what you see as a user is actually the terminal you interact with. That's your interface towards the service. And to have that background is very valuable, we believe. Also, after the IPO, we have a strong main shareholders. These are some of them. We also have them represented in the board. It's a very good board, and in addition, we also have external very good participants with relevant experience. Also, we have started to initiated a process for a listing change to Nasdaq Stockholm. Yeah, so going back to our service then. So this, as you see, there are two axes here. The horizontal one is mobility, and the more mobile the service is, the smaller the terminal is on ground. And then you have the other axis, the vertical transmit bandwidth. It's harder to transmit than to receive. It's valid with your phones as well. So you have basically today two satellite service offerings. One is called MSS, Mobile Satellite Services. And these are maybe companies you heard about, Inmarsat, Teraya, Iridium. Great mobility down to handset-sized terminals, but really designed for voice in the end. So it's not much bandwidth. And also, because they have so little total bandwidth globally, it costs a lot every time you use it. So Inmarsat, they have the fastest MSS service. And even if they can go higher than 256 kilobit in real time, that's in real time the highest they can go. And for that, you pay $16 per minute. That's a hefty sum. Going all the way up here, you have the other type of offering. That's FSS, Fixed Satellite Services. There you have a lot of throughput, like Viasat, Canal Digital, or where you have a lot of bandwidth. But then the equipment on ground becomes more, it's fixed or at least transportable. So it's parabolic dishes and something you have to bring with you and have maybe a special engineer operating it. What we do then is to take the ease of use and portability of the MSS with a higher throughput of the FSS. So the market, if you look at the satellite service market, the left column there, it's growing, $130 billion approximately per year, and it's growing. Of that, our addressable market, the right column, we take then part of the MSS, as we just talked about, mobile satellite services. And these are not the people that use it as telephones, satellite telephones, but transmitting data. And that's the main part today of MSS revenues. So these are customers that want more bandwidth to a lower cost, which of course is a big part of it. Also, the other part is FSS, and these are customers that don't want to go in a truck or have flight cases or a special trained engineer operating the system. They want something that is smaller, easier to use. But there is a third area as well, and that's this one. And there is no current solution with satellite today that can offer this. And one example is drones. So for example, you have smaller UAVs, drones then, that have the range and endurance, but they are limited by their terrestrial telecommunication link. So if they pass a tree, if a tree blockage the line of sight or a building or something else, you will lose communication with it. So of course, with this type of service, you can put what you call beyond line of sight capability for these smaller drones. It's a very large market. So the service we run today, it really validates the next step. As I said, from the start, we have wanted to launch our own satellites. And as I will tell you later, it's no end in itself, although we think it's very funny, but it's very good. But it's a reason for it. But what we do today really validates that. So it validates technology, it validates market, price levels, and all of that. So Q2 then, we became listed. We do a lot of, we have been kind of under the radar during the development phase, but we're going out now to the customers we worked with before. Did a lot of demonstrations. We also introduced a new type of satellite terminal that you can put on yourself, and it will automatically track as you move. We received a grant from Swedish National Space Board. We also brought one of these satellite positions into use because, as I said, we have 6 orbital positions. It's like parking lots, and it's like a building permit. If you want to build a house, you send in a building permit, but you need to start building the house after a while. The same is with this. So if you have an orbital position, you need to bring it into use in a certain time. So we brought the first satellite position into use. Not with our satellite, because we don't have it up yet, but with another operator satellite. It was an old satellite that we made a deal, and Eutelsat then moved it to our position. So we brought it into use in March this year. The development, as I said, the underlying business, the current business is good, but most of the activities in the company are really aimed towards the goal of launching own satellites. We don't need orbital positions or frequency license for the current business. We didn't have to do this with Eutelsat for the current business. So we take a lot of costs that really is aimed for the next step. But also I want to say this with the revenues of the year. It mainly has to do with the currency exchange rate, but also that we're starting to reach the ceiling because there aren't that many existing TV satellites that we can use for this service. Next year, more will come, and we can grow with that until our own satellites come up. But that's why you see it starts to level out. Okay, so why launching own satellites? What will happen? Well, everything will be better. So you will have more coverage. With the same type of terminal, this laptop-sized terminal that we believe will be the largest one, you can have much more throughput. But you can, if the customer don't have a need of those throughput rates, you can also introduce much smaller terminals. You also introduce a new type of functionality. For example, in our satellite, we have an onboard processor that we are now developing. So when you have a small antenna, you can communicate direct single hop with one little antenna to the other little antenna without having to go through a big gateway in the middle, which is otherwise the need. So there is a lot of features, but most importantly, you have more bandwidth, and with that, you have the revenue potential increases. For example, if you have a large satellite, the total revenue maximum is maybe $200 million per year, and also you increase the margin. So today we're leasing capacity. When you have your own satellite, you will increase the margin quite a lot. So it's a lot of benefits doing that. What have happened then recently is that we received additional contracts from U.S. Department of Defense. We also received an order, was it last week or the week before, from UK MOD, and this is then a part of us going out now a little bit wider. So that was important. We also participated in trade shows and such. We in the step now of launching our own satellites. I didn't tell you, in the team, of course, we have done this before in previous capacity, procured satellites and project management satellite projects. So we made an agreement with SpaceX to launch our first satellite with their Falcon Heavy then. Last week, we also proposed, or the board proposed a guaranteed rights issue then, in order up to 750 million, in order to take the next step now to launch our own satellite. And the financing of a satellite is such, so one part is equity, the other one is debt. And as I said, we have 6 orbital positions. So it's only if we execute according to plan, we will only take in equity for the first satellite. The remaining 5 will be financed then through cash flow and that, if we execute according to plan, of course. To summarize then, so the market for this type of service, mobility broadband, is large and it is increasing. We have, this is a big step forward. It's not just incremental increase, it's a disruptive really step. But the real disruption comes with our own satellite. Even today we have a service that is better than the competition, but it's closer. We have a proven, the current service validates everything, as I said earlier. We also have a strong patent portfolio. That can't really be used in the current service as we have no control of the satellite. It's a third parties that operates it today. But once we get up our own satellites, we can fully utilize that patent portfolio. We have global spectrum, as we talked about. So there are barriers here for others to entry. We also believe, or think ourselves, that we have a good experience of doing this before. Yeah, so that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Could you please start this Q&A session just to elaborate a little bit more about the risks that you see, the primary risks that you see?
Yeah, for sure. So we worked with this company for a long time. As I said, when we started this company, the aim was to launch our own satellite. Then for the financing reasons and such, we had to take it incremental steps. So it has been different risks at time, but all the risks that was there in the beginning 10 years ago has been validated. So I would say today is a schedule risk. We propose now this financing, and it's important that it goes in time and that we get it up.
That's why you're here, I guess. So,
yes. I mean, it's part of it. Yes, for sure.
Okay, let's say that you will raise this money that you're aiming, and where will you be in like a year from now?
Well, so we will expand the current service. So the current service will continue to exist. As I said, more capacity will come up, so we can grow the revenues. But and it takes time to build a satellite. It takes 2 years, because once you get it up there, you can't go up with a wrench or fix it. So it needs to work. So it takes 2 years to test it and get it up.
So that's also a risk, I guess.
It is a risk, but you insure it. So it's fully insured. So if something happens during manufacturing, during launch, or when it's up in orbit, if something happens, all the money will be repaid, so to say. And then you can choose as owner, should we do it again, or should we take the money and
do something else?
Do something else, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say are the most important drives for your business, the satellites? What are the customer segments that are growing most, would you say?
Yeah, I think at least the way we see it internally is, I mean, the need for mobility broadband is universal. Like when I went to a broadcaster and we put up this laptop terminal on the table, and instead of this video conferencing quality they had before, they could get high resolution bandwidth in the same form factor. It's very attractive. Same is within government. So nobody's saying, yes, we want larger equipment, less bandwidth, and higher cost. I mean, everybody wants something that is small and very capable. So we see it's a trend of increasing need of mobility and increasing need of broadband. But looking at the whole sector as such, satellite services, 130 billion, our addressable market is maybe 7 billion, so it's a part of that. So you could see it as a niche, but it's a big niche. And
it's a big niche.
It's growing.
Yeah. You made quite a nice listing this May, was it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. At Spotlight, no, First North in May.
Yes.
I know the CEOs normally don't like these questions, but the investors, they love it. But could you just, maybe not comment, could you describe how the stock has developed since the listing?
I think it's
started
really
off quite well.
Yeah, but you can't look at it all the time. I mean, we have a very clear path, and you have to also understand the kind of the valuation was set on the current business. And if we want to maximize that, we do a lot of things now that we could just skip and just. But we want to take this next step, and then it's a exponential increase. So I think we will see that we concentrate on our thing, and I think you see the market now has gone down with technology companies. I think we have to be you're never pleased, of course, but I think we are in 2 years we will see where we stand then. That's our focus.
But still you need some more money. Could you just summarize a little bit more of your arguments for why should you invest in this emission now?
Yeah, for sure. So no, as I said, I mean, it's no end in itself to launch a satellite. It costs a lot of money, and I as owner will be dilute. Everybody nobody likes that. But it will be so much better. So we will increase the performance, you will increase the coverage, meaning that we can cover much more regions and get much more customer. We will have more capacity, so the revenue potential will increase substantially. And not to say the least, the margins will increase. So it's a significant increase from the business we have today.
So it's a big step.
It's a big step, and also, as I said, I mean, our aim is to have.
You're aiming for the stars and even more, I could say.
Yeah, geostationary orbit. It's on the way there, 10th part to the moon. But we also have 6 orbital positions around the globe, so the need is really around the globe. So the first satellite is its own business case, so the remaining 5 will be financed then through cash flow and maybe some debt if we execute according to plan.
Okay. Could you elaborate a little bit more about the costs? Because you're asking for 750 million Swedish crowns.
Yes.
How much is the cost of the satellite itself?
Yeah, I mean,
how much do you pay for satellites these days?
Yeah, so we're working with this now, and the main 3 components are satellite, launch, insurance. Those are the 3 big things. Yeah. Launch, we have signed.
You think insurance for a car is expensive, but I guess it's.
But it's reasonably low now in the business still, so that's a good thing. I mean, when we started, it was very high. Now it's very low, and that's because nothing has happened. It's very secure environment. So those are the 3. So we have one. We haven't announced the satellite, which is the biggest part yet. But typically it's you could say $150 million, something like that, is the total cost for everything. Okay. And then so the remaining part is then debt. Yes.
So how do you actually do it when you're buying a satellite? Where do you buy it to begin with?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a competitive procurement. I mean, I understand this is a business maybe not so familiar in Sweden, but we have launched satellites and Sputnik, you know, so it's a you know, mature market, and there are big system houses, Airbus in Europe, Thales, Boeing, you know, Orbital, L'Oreal. So there are, you know, there are companies doing this for a living, and you do a competitive procurement. And as I said, in our team, we have a previous CEO of SCS Sirius, and you know, have done this before.
But could it be hard to find one to begin with, or are there a lot of them out there?
Yeah, I mean, there are launched satellites all the time, and and we have done it for a long time. So it's you know, we have designed the payload is actually, that's the device we interact with. The rest is just a shell to keep it warm, cold, keep it into the right position. Yeah.
So how many satellites of your own will you have, like in 2 years' time, or maybe 5 years' time?
Yeah, I think, as I said, we want to populate all those orbital slots that we have for global provisioning of the service. There is a need we see all over the world. So we have said 6 satellites over a longer period. But again, every satellite is its own business case. We can do it in the pace and the owners think it's right.
And I must say, I don't normally go out there shopping for satellites, so I have no picture at all about the pricing in this market. But will the price for the satellite, will it lower significantly, or what would you say?
Yeah, I think it's a good time of procuring satellites now. There is uncertainty in that market as well, you know. So I think it's a good time to do that, and I think we have, or I think we will have a competitive pricing from the suppliers.
So the satellite that you will purchase now and send up, how much? What will it be capable of doing? How many customers, or could you in any way measure this?
Yeah. So I think you know, we can have several customers. It's an exchange on board. This OBP I talked about can house, you know, many thousands. But this will not be millions of handsets customers. It's because the satellite is so powerful, and the terminal. So with one terminal, you take up a big part of the satellite, as we see today. So a drone, for example, with all the sensors, it takes up a big chunk of the bandwidth in the satellite. So it will be in the thousands. It will not be in the millions of users.
Okay. So how long will it take until this satellite Ovcon 3 has paid back?
It goes very quickly.
Okay.
I mean, again, assuming that but you know, looking at what the revenue we have today, it's not that much higher now going forward to do that. So it's, you know, so there is an you know, what we call a threshold initially of capex, as we then talked about. But then once it's up, it's a very profitable business.
Okay. So good luck with that. Thank you so much, Per.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tack.